The morning was cold. The leaves were wet. It wasn't a pleasant time to run. The city was still asleep and it did not look like it would wake up anytime soon. Sweat ran down his face as he ran. His muscles ached. His heart raced, but he kept on running. Nicholas wasn't an athlete, but he ran like he was one. If he was an athlete, he probably would have stopped running. No athlete needed to run this hard. No athlete needed to run at this time. Just get home, he said to himself. Home was an old room with rusted roofing sheets. It did not have the clean toilet, the cozy kitchen with the gas cooker and the always cold refrigerator he was used to. It was home nonetheless, and it was the place Nicholas had to get to. As he ran, he looked at his now familiar racetrack. It wasn't a racetrack until this morning, but it was familiar. It was a bush path, a narrow bush path, rarely used by people. It was one of the reasons he chose the path. The path looked especially lonely that morning, but it wasn't going to set him back. He had to get home. A light shining in the distance caught his attention. Judging by the distance, it had to be coming from his house. That was strange. He lived alone. He had no friends and he definitely wasn't expecting anybody. He reduced his pace. A lot of thoughts crowded his mind. He still had to run, but it was not right. A light. He moved closer. There was no doubt the light was coming from his house. In the dark, his house looked nice. The old structure had a beautiful silhouette. He had been thinking of putting up window curtains, but he had not gotten around to it. So now he could see inside his room. There was nobody inside as far as he could see. He decided it was better to solve the puzzle of how the light got to his room than to stay out in the cold early morning. He was now very close to his house. He slowed to a walk. Everywhere was quiet. No sound came from his room. He could hear his heart beating. He tried to calm himself, but no part of him understood what calm was anymore. His feet kept moving, but every other part of him seemed to be numb. He moved closer to the house. His eyes seemed to have snapped out of their numbness because now they darted in all directions looking for any sign of movement. As he approached his doorway, he noticed the door was open. Now everything was becoming weird. First he thought all he had to do was get home. Now he looked like somebody was in his room. He entered the room slowly and quietly, looked around. Everything was fine. The light he had seen came from a candle burning by his bed. It was good he came when he did. His house would have been burnt by morning. He put down the candle and lay on the bed. He had lived a simple, uneventful life, but no one would describe his life as eventful now. And he was sure it wasn't going to be simple anymore either. Then he saw it. He got closer. The hair on his neck stood. His palms were getting wet. What was happening to him? He was close now, but he could not move. Copper! He heard a voice call out. Then everything went dark. Hi, and welcome to the Story People College. I am Lord Josh. The story I just read to you now was the first story I ever wrote, or the first episode of the first story I ever wrote. I called it my first episode because it was the first part of a series I wrote on my blog back then, LORDJOSHWRITES.wordpress.com. It's still there. I no longer use the blog, but you can check it out. There are some other stuff there. That was the first story I wrote, and I felt like it was a good introduction to this episode, because in this episode I'll be talking to you about how I got started with writing. I'll be telling you how this first story came about, and the process for writing it basically, and what it has led to. So I think you will enjoy this journey. So let's go. So like I said, the first story I wrote, which I just read to you, it was titled Nicholas. Nicholas, that was the name of the main character. That was the guy that was running. And why did I start writing? So I think I had always had an interest in writing from my primary school, which is where I credit my writing interest. We had a good library, a good fiction library, and we used to read a lot of storybooks, a whole lot of storybooks, from the small ladybird stories to the bigger famous 5 stories, which was my favorite series when I was growing up, in Blighton or Blighton. Yeah, so I started reading that, got me interested a lot in reading novels. I got to secondary school, continued reading. I had a teacher who had a lot of novels that we used to steal. Shout out to Mrs. Miola, so that was where I got my interest in fiction. My dad is a writer, not a fiction writer though, more of a non-fiction writer, so I can't credit him for my fiction writing, but at least maybe I have some writing in my genes, maybe. Okay, so but that, I had some interest, but why did I actually eventually start writing? Okay, so this is what happened. It was around 2013. Somebody gave me this TV show, Scandal by Shonda Rhimes, who is one of my favorite people in the world. And I think the person gave me season 1 and 2. Yeah, season 1 was really short. It had less than 5 episodes, if I can remember clearly. And I saw season 1, and then I was in season 2. And I know there's a lot to love about the show, but what kept coming to my mind was somebody wrote this stuff. I could just imagine the feeling of sitting down and creating characters that would make people feel the way I was feeling when I was watching Scandal, because we were following the ups and downs of Olivia Pope's relationship with the president, all the cases they had to solve. It was just so fascinating. Of course, I'd seen other TV shows before then, but there was something about Scandal that just made me feel like, man, I want to do this. I really want to do this. And I have a friend that I used to talk a lot with then, Dolapo. Shout out to you, Dolapo Adeniregun. Well, formerly Adeniregun. And so I just thought about, man, this show that I'm watching, I feel like I need to do this too. And I just sat down in my room then on my mattress on the floor, and I propped my laptop on my laps, and I wrote what I just read to you now. When I wrote what I read to you, number 1, I had no idea what the guy's name was. Number 2, I had no idea what he was running from. Number 3, I had no idea why everything went dark at the end. I had no story. I had no plot. I had no character. I just had this scene. I just wanted to write. I just felt like I need to write. This is my destiny calling me or something. So I decided to write that episode. It was short. I don't really write a lot of short stuff, not anymore. So but that day I wrote down one. It was short. I sent it to her. She read it. She said, this is nice. And I decided to open a blog and posted it on the blog and said, next week episode 2 will drop. That's one of the bravest things I've done in my life, honestly speaking, because I did not know where episode 2 was going to come from. But because I had that urge to write, I did not need to know, okay, what was going to happen. Of course, that gave me some challenges later because I did not have a plot in mind. But the good thing is, it made me write. It got me committed. And I think I wrote for 22 episodes or so, or more. It was like 20 something episodes. And so every week, on a particular day of the week, I don't remember which day it was, I kept posting. A lot of things that did for me. Number 1, it made me write, which was the most important thing. Number 2, it made me consistent because I had an online following. It was not a lot, but I had people who were reading my stories and were following it. I wanted to know what's going to happen next. So like it was happening, like it happens with TV shows. I had people like that, so I did not have a choice. I had to write. And even when it was tough, I had to write. And for the first time in my life, I wrote a proper story from the beginning to the end. It was 22 episodes or so, like I said. It was a lot of work. It was worth it. And once I had got that first story out, I was able to write more. I think the next story I wrote was Demons on Church Street, which, maybe it's one of my favorite stories I've ever written. Demons on Church Street. I'll put a link to it in the description so you can get it for free. Then I've written other stories from there. Let me see if I can remember some of them. The Stalker, it started as a Twitter series, later I made it into an ebook. The Haunted Assembly, Double Negative. I wrote this series with a friend, this short story with a friend, Oreolua. Sam and Pam, which was my first time I wrote anything in romance, because as at that time everybody was accusing me of not being able to write romance, so I wanted to show them. I hope I did. So Sam and Pam, but I had a co-author on that one. I had this challenge that I gave myself to write 30 different stories for 30 different days in the month of the year. That was a couple of years ago, and so I just had people sending random pictures, either of themselves, of a friend, or if somebody sends the picture of President Buhari, then people just sent in random pictures, and then I will have to come up with a story about the picture. That was a huge challenge. Wow, I enjoyed it, but it was tough. There were nights when I had no story, and I needed to post the next morning. And then I remember one night I was just walking on the road. I had seen a friend off TLC to our house, and I was going, should I just taken a cab or something, but I decided to walk because I needed a story. As I was walking, bam, the story idea came to my mind. On that road, that night, I went home, wrote it, and posted it the next morning. That story ended up being the one with the highest views during the series. So I had stuff like that. So that random bit, that one. So of course, after a few years doing blogs, fiction blogging and all of that, I decided to go into screenwriting, and I've been doing that for a while now. And screenwriting is different from fiction blogging, but it's just as fun, maybe funner, because you get to see your words turn into is giving sound and visuals, like pictures. You can see what you wrote become movies. So that's been fun. I've had a few screenwriting credits, not a lot yet, but I'm working on that. So I've added a few other skills to my writing. I direct now. Who knows, I might even be acting anytime soon. So I'm just saying that first story was what started me on this journey. If I did not write that first story, if I did not write that first episode I just read to you now, I don't know if I would ever have come to this point. Or maybe I would have written something else at some other times, but I would not have gone through this journey that I am currently on at the moment. So I said all of that to say this. You might be out there and you want to be a writer, and you see all this great stuff. You read novels, you see how wonderfully people write, you see how they craft their words, you see the plot, you see the characters, you see the words they create, and you are intimidated and you feel like, where do I start from? Honestly speaking, you just need to start from somewhere. You don't need to have a full story. There are a lot of people who, the reason why they never write till they grow old and die is because they are always waiting for the perfect story, and they are always trying to make everything perfect. I want to have this, but then they never write, or they just jot everything down, and they analyze and never write their story. So the best thing for you is, if you have not been writing at all and you want to start, you can do what I did. Pick a scene, the scene that is in your head, that you are seeing, that is making you feel like, maybe I should write this. You don't have the plot yet. Pick that scene, write it out, send it out, let somebody read it. And I know people who write but never share it. They write and keep it in their diaries, they write and keep it on their systems. I don't believe you're a writer if you don't have readers, and that's just my opinion. You can't. A lot of people journal, they just journal for themselves. You're not a writer if you journal. Well, by my own definition of writing, and of course you don't have to accept that. I'm just saying that write it. You don't have to share it with the whole world yet. Share it with your friends, share it with your family. Let somebody read it. The only way you can get better, of course, I tried to read some of the next episode after this one. Of course, I saw, oh man, I should have written this better. This is not how to write a scene. This is not how to write characters. But of course, I'm not judging myself there, because I know that whatever it is I know now started from this. If I did not write this, I would not know what I know now. So it's important to start. This segment of the Story People channel is called the Story People College. This is just the YouTube version. I take the classes online and sometimes physically too. So I'll just be I'll be sharing my writing journey, but not just sharing my writing journey. I'll be sharing how writing works from what I've learned. I try to read a lot about writing, and I try my best to write as much as I can. And so combining reading and writing makes you a better writer. I have a few things that I've learned along the way that I would like to share with you, and that's what this is for. This is the end of this first episode. Let me know, first of all, what do you think about the story? Did you like it? Was it intriguing for you? Is there a way you think I could have done it better? That's the first thing. Next thing is, what's your own story? Have you written your story? Have you sent it? Do you want to write it in the comment section? Let everybody come and discuss it with you, or you send it to me privately. I would like to see that. Of course, like this video. That's the way we do it on YouTube. Like the video, drop a comment, share it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll be dropping one of these every week, so it should be fun. And if you're a writer, by the time as we go on this journey, I believe that you're going to get better, and we're going to do some writing even on the channel, so where we start the story from scratch, and as we go we'll write the story together and see how we can progress with it. My name is Lord Josh. I am the provost of the Story People College, and I am the teacher for today, and I hope you enjoy the class. Take care. Bye.